Hello and welcome to the 51st episode of The Real List, a podcast about our real list. I'm your host, Ellis.
And I'm your host, Gloria.
And today we have a selection from me, which is impeccably timed, and not on purpose either. This is Unstoppable, a movie which is almost as dramatic as it looks, because, good God, the editing in this film is insane. But I'm sure we'll talk about that. This was directed by Tony Scott, written by Mark Baumbach, and produced by 5 different people. It stars Denzel Washington, Chris Pine, and Rosario Dawson. And let's see. I mean, it came out in 2010, which it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. This movie has been a punching bag of railfans for 13 years.
A punching bag to railfans?
For railfans.
Oh.
As in, people like to dunk on this movie for all the bad train physics and, like, things that could not or would not happen in real life. But I also think it is an incredibly accurate portrayal of railroaders, especially in the beginning where they're all just swearing at each other.
I mean, I don't know jack squat about trains like you do, but I mean, it seemed pretty accurate to me.
The thing is, a lot of the people, I feel like a lot of the nitpicks, or a lot of the criticisms of the things wrong with it are nitpicks, or just like, well, you needed that to happen for the plot to happen. I mean, some of the things are totally spot on. Derailers not necessarily working on a moving train like that, and is just the one that comes to mind. I don't know about the physics of slowing the thing down, but the brakes work how brakes work in real life, which is like the most. If they got that wrong, it would have been the worst thing to get wrong, you know? On the other hand, it got some other things wrong, but it did get that right. Sorry, I got distracted for a second, I don't know why. But you really enjoyed this. I was surprised.
I really did enjoy this movie because it was actually an hour and 38-minute heart attack.
It's like me with freaking Knives Out.
Like, we were watching this film, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not bad. It's not terrible. And then they showed the scene where the runaway train leaves,
Mm-hmm.
where 777 leaves, and I'm just like, look at this guy. What is he doing? Why is he not? Why are they not doing what they're supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then he gets out of the cab to chase the train, and he falls. I figured the guy that was helping him would have freaking ran fast enough to probably catch the train, but then I guess there wouldn't be no movie if the guy didn't catch the train.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's again, some of the things make sense, some of the things don't make sense.
Did they use like the actual characters, like the actual people's names, or did they just like?
No, okay. So this is based on the CXX Crazy Eights incident, which was locomotive number 8888. It's an EMD ST40-2. Pulling a train of 47 cars, ran uncontrolled for about 2 hours. And I don't know all the details of this either. I probably should have like sat and read the.
It did take place. Did it take place in Virginia?
It took place in Ohio.
Pennsylvania was where it took place.
Yeah, the other movie is in Pennsylvania. They have this Stanton Curve, which, where do you think they got that name? Yeah, exactly. The fictional town of Stanton, Pennsylvania.
I was like, you spelt that wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were trying to like spoof it. So I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, well, none of the places or railroads in the movie, for the most, are real places.
I mean, they kept Findlay from the movie in here, even though it's not in Pennsylvania. It's in.
That is true, I suppose.
Because I remember when they had the map in the operating room.
Yep.
Is that what it's the control center, whatever. They had the map and it said Findlay, and I was like, I noticed that it says that on the map right here, the little snippet that they show us.
Yep. Yeah, and this was the actual Crazy Eights incident. I feel like they went around the way that uh, this actually happened, so they didn't have to explain how dynamic brakes work to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in the movie, he sets the independent, and then he sort of puts the throttle, and the throttle, I guess, jumps back into position, which is one of those things that you look at and go, like, I don't understand how that would have ever happened, but without it, we wouldn't have a movie. I feel like they could have kept the original premise, which is in the Crazy Eights incident. He set the dynamic brake, but he didn't actually set the dynamic part of it. So the thing with the dynamic brake in a locomotive is it uses, basically it turns the motors on the wheels into gigantic generators. So it takes power from the motion of the train and then just uses it to basically just heat resistors and burn off the power. So in turn, you're turning the kinetic energy of the train moving into heat, which slows the train down. To do that, you have to put the throttle up.
Mm-hmm.
So you set the dynamic brake lever, and then you put the throttle up. Except in the Crazy Eights incident, he did not set the dynamic brake. He just set the throttle.
And the throttle makes it go, right?
Yes. So he just, the train just sort of ran off. Again, I don't know.
Obviously.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, the train's in cruise mode.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, it's actually a very similar thing where they chased the runaway train down and coupled onto the rear end of it and slowed it down using their dynamic brakes.
So they basically just took the event and made it into a movie, but they changed things around.
Yeah, they changed things around a little bit to make it...
reasons.
Yeah, for legal reasons, to make it more dramatic. Like, the two engines that they tied under the front and that, like, fell over and exploded, didn't... That wasn't... Yeah, that wasn't a thing that happened. But the two things, like the police officers shooting at the fuel cap, that was a real thing. They did try to do that. And they were going to put another locomotive on the front of the runaway if they got the chance. Here's the thing, like, I wish I knew more about, like, basic train physics and basic, like, train operations. A lot of what I've learned from, like, simulators and stuff, which is not all accurate to real life. And I wish I could critique more of this, but the point is, it gets critiqued a lot by railfans. And my defense of it is usually, it is an entertaining action movie, and we as railfans don't get a lot of train movies. Much less train movies that are this well produced. The editing in this movie is top notch. It's crazy, it makes you want to have a heart attack, but it's just, shaky cam, cut, pan, shaky cam, just like zoom, pan. It's very, very intense. They made everything super intense. It is a 98-minute movie. It feels like it feels longer, and yet it has so much pad in it of just gratuitous train shots.
I literally said that to you. I was like, this movie does not feel like it's an hour and 38 minutes long.
Yeah.
Because they jam-packed this movie so much that it felt... the thing is like you were getting so much all at once. You were drawn into the story as soon as the movie starts. Like, the movie does start off a little slow. You have Chris Pine sitting outside his wife's house, stalking his child, and then you have him go to, what is it, the yard? Yeah,
he goes to the yard office. He gets his orders. He meets with
Frank.
Frank. Denzel Washington.
Frank and what's his name? The guy who dies in the train. Judd Stewart.
Oh yeah,
Stewart
I forgot
something.
He was there at the beginning.
Yeah, he was. That's why Frank was like, who?
Yeah.
It doesn't say.
But yeah, it's blah 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 blah. There's a cast list down further in the article, but yeah, it's it gets going fairly quickly.
Judd Stewart was his name.
It's one of these things that usually it's like things that are building up to an energetic climax, but the energy is there the whole time because you have a runaway train going 75 miles an hour and not shade. and that's how it keeps the hype up. And yet, yeah, like I said, I still feel like there's tons of pad in this movie because there are tons of like little events that don't really contribute to the plot, but are there to
No, like the bit with Ned getting the police escort.
yeah, and the
like,
horse trailer,
and the
getting
horse
hit.
trailer, and like the scenes in between where they're at the communication center where they're talking to the owner of the
the
railroad,
Galvin, which
Fuck
I
him.
I love that. I love that we are now looking at this from the point of view of like, you know, at one point it would have been, oh, look at those incompetent CEOs, and now it's like, oh god, they're all like that. That's real life. They all act exactly like this. But yeah. Also, I think it blowing through a derail was another thing that did happen. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Using a portable derailer failed. Portable derailer was thrown off the track by the force of the train.
I like how Frank knew that was not going to work.
Oh yeah, because they kind of suck. They're okay if you have like a single car rolling away on its own, like rolling down a slight grade. But hold on, he's gonna eat through this. But you know, when you have like a massive train moving quickly,
What was it?
it's just going to demolish the thing.
What was the train, like 30 cars long?
Hold on, it says it up here, I think. The actual one was 47 cars,
Oh,
I think.
Jesus.
But at 39 cars, molten phenol.
Glue.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I like the sort of play between corporate and the local yardmaster where she's like trying to give them ideas and
They're not taking any of her ideas. Except for the one where, what was it? They were like, we can, if we slow it down this way.
yeah,
before-
someone could jump on it.
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah.
Oh my god, that scene gave me a heart attack.
Which one?
The scene where they had Judge Stewart in front,
Yup.
and then they had the guy like
The guy in the helicopter.
hanging
Yeah.
out, like in the jump in like in the sling, hanging out of the helicopter, and then they get the train to slow down and slow enough, and then the train picks up, and the guy smashes into the cab window, and he just is laying like
He's limp.
dangling,
He just goes limp.
just dangling
Oh,
in the
man.
sky, and I'm like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
movie gave me anxiety.
It is a good like action thriller.
It's a good movie. I'm not bashing on it in any way, but it just gave me a lot of anxiety.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a good movie, but it does what it came here to do.
Well, I liked it. I mean, it's good to me. I mean,
I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and I am, like I said, I am surprised. I'm very surprised by the response I got from you because you were engaged.
I also really enjoyed Denzel Washington and Chris Pine's characters. I loved the chemistry.
Yeah, they worked really well together.
They did, and like I
like how we got the. I do think it was super cheesy, but that we got the sort of whatchamacallit, just the thing of like, and here's where they are now in the credits.
Oh yeah, I did. I didn't like that because I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but it's what you like. If they just cut to black, you probably would have been like, I want more than this, like Whiplash. Like you wanted that in Whiplash.
Yes.
Yes.
In this, I felt like they should have showed the actual people who were responsible, like, you know, for.
Oh yeah.
Like instead of like the character that Denzel Washington played, it was more of like his character, not the actual person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was expecting. I was expecting like an actual tribute to the actual people, not like the characters that were played in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if there's anything about the the CSX never made public the name of the 35-year veteran engineer whose error caused the runaway. So yeah, it's not
Well,
they didn't it was not as publicized as as the event in Unstoppable, that's for sure. They don't pull punches with like the people getting injured. Like I couldn't remember if someone died, but the veteran, what?
He just screamed.
Who did?
The cat.
Oh. The veteran railroader dies, and then Chris Pine gets his foot smashed in a coupler, which is absolutely brutal. And I could not look, I couldn't look at the screen after that.
Literally, he was getting shot at with grain. Like, because the grain car didn't combust, but
it broke.
It broke, and there was just grain everywhere. And it didn't help that there was a helicopter floating above the train, because it probably made it a lot worse. It could have. I'm not saying it did, but it could have made it a lot worse. And it was like they were watching, like, you had the people watching it on the TVs, and like you had Darcy. What was his name? What's the guy that Chris Pine plays? Will.
Will. Yeah, Will.
You had Darcy watching Will just struggle on the frickin' train, and she's just like, oh my god, is my husband dead?
Yeah.
She's like...
I like how it has like 3 helicopters following it at all times.
Oh my god.
And at one point they're like, oh, we don't know where it is. And I'm going, how do you not know where it is? There are so many helicopters.
Well, they probably were having 2 helicopters stay on 777 just in case something happens.
I guess. I'm just saying, like, that moment. There are a couple of moments in the film where I go, like, what? Why? How? The throttle jumping is one of them, but them not knowing where it is at one point is another one, because it's like you have helicopters literally on top of this train. Helicopters that at every moment in the movie are doing like inane tricks.
Oh my god!
Every time there's a helicopter on screen, it's going like near close to the ground, coming back up.
Especially like in the end, where they had all the helicopters like fly towards the screen at the end of the movie. I was like, okay, this isn't a Top Gun movie. This isn't a war movie. There's no need for that. There's no need for that.
Yeah, the train takes off and Fortunate Son starts playing.
I also wanted to talk about how Denzel Washington's character was just train hopping.
Oh,
running
move.
Across the top of the moving train. That was like, I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna fall. He's gonna fall. And then he didn't, and then he
got to the car that he couldn't get past.
Yeah. And him just standing on top of the tanker car, and he's just riding the train. I bet that's an experience.
I bet this movie was so much fun to film. I'm serious. This movie must have been an absolute blast.
Where did they film this?
They filmed it in western Pennsylvania and in Ohio. The fictional railroad was headquartered in Pittsburgh as well. But yeah, they filmed in a whole bunch of towns in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh.
Oh, New York, Portville.
This is the most expensive film ever to be shot in western Pennsylvania. You know what I really like?
Buffalo Line.
Yeah, so the western New York and Pennsylvania's Buffalo Line was used for 2 months. It's the B&O Railroad Viaduct between Bel Air and Benwood, West Virginia, this is the actual...
Oh, that's the bridge.
Yeah, this is the bridge. I actually kind of want to pull it up on whatever. Oh, okay, I can pull it up on Google Earth, I assume. Okay, that's not helpful.
Wikimedia.
Nope, that's not helpful either. Satellite, please. Or it's just gonna... Oh, okay, yeah. Where is it? Oh, it's here. So that's the one side. And they can't see this, but this is the other side.
So that's the curve?
This is the... It's even labeled as Stanton Curve. It's apparently a tourist attraction with 2 5-star reviews, open 24 hours a day. Giant oil storage tanks in the movie
would have been right
not
there.
Here. Yeah.
The pipes falling off the train.
Yeah, there's a moment where the pipes fall off of the gondola, and all I can hear is like
clong,
clang,
clong, all together.
Is this a one-ended bridge? This is a useless bridge.
Maybe it goes under.
I don't think it goes anywhere. Oh yeah, no, it is in fact a useless bridge. Anyway, sorry, distracted. Hey, Chris Pine's kind of nuts. I just wanted to throw that out there.
What, his character?
He didn't know his wife. He didn't know who his wife was texting, so he assumed it was this cop, and then just went and pulled the gun on him.
Well, he didn't pull a gun on him.
He put the gun
had...
on the dashboard and did the whole Family Guy, I just want to talk to him.
Well, I mean...
Listen, I understand that these are like, you know, everyday gray sort of... Like, he's not supposed to be a perfect protagonist. But, holy crap, dude. You didn't even know it was him. You didn't even know that this was the person that your wife was talking to. She wasn't even talking to a dude. She was talking to her sister.
Was that her sister or was it like her friend?
He said it was his sister-in-law.
No. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make the correlation of who that person was when she dropped her son off to Darcy, the girl who dropped their son off to Darcy.
Oh, I don't know.
Right before the movie ended.
I don't think it's. I don't think it matters. No, it doesn't. Yeah. But it just struck me as like I sort of had the same reaction that Denzel Washington did when he's and then he got real quiet when he noticed the gun on the dashboard. And Denzel Washington goes, "Whoa!" And in my head, I'm going, "Whoa!" Like, hold on, Captain Kirk. Especially when it turns out that she wasn't even talking to him. She wasn't even talking to a guy. I'm thinking, okay, well, why was she hiding in the first place, though? But that's beside the point. Like,
maybe it was a surprise for him.
You go have a conversation with your spouse about this. You don't go and threaten. You don't go and brandish, which is an actual crime. A police officer.
I also would like to point out how Denzel Washington told Chris Pine's character that his daughters worked at Hooters, and he was like, "Go ahead, laugh. It's okay. I get it all the time."
Plenty of gratuitous shots of Hooters, which I swear to God, it must have been like where do we have his daughters work? Oh, what if we had them working at Hooters and like the whole, the writing team is probably like, yeah, that'd be great. We can film in a Hooters.
I like how his Frank's daughter didn't want to talk to him in the beginning either because she thought that he forgot her birthday.
I get the feeling that he just never had the best relationship with his daughters in the first place. I feel like it runs deeper than just forgetting her birthday.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe after, his wife, their mother died, things changed,
Mm-hmm.
That it happens. Death can change people.
I just noticed this. First of all, yes, this was 100%. There's no way they pulled a restaurant name out of a hat and happened to be Hooters. Quote, "A 2-day filming session took place at the Hooters restaurant in Wilkins Township, a Pittsburgh suburb, featuring 10 Hooters girls from across the United States. Other interior scenes were shot at 31 Street Studios on 31st Street in Pittsburgh." They had 10 Hooters girls from across the United States come together to be part of this filming. This is 100%. We want to get the Hooters experience as part of our film. Like, this is just horny producers, is what this is. 100%. I guess I don't really blame them, but Jesus Christ, guys, I have a bonk stick ready for you.
Do you have any questions for me about this movie?
That's a really good. I don't know. I feel like. Is there anything that we didn't talk about the guy in the pickup truck, by the way?
Ned?
Much. We didn't talk about him much and how just he's like a humongous dickhead and very funny.
Oh, yeah. Him hitting on the waitress when we first meet him, and she's just like, yup. And when he leaves, and she's like, rolls her eyes, and I'm like, yeah, bitch, you tell him.
It's about precision.
I just love how he's just so cocky with it. Like, he's just very cocky, and he knows that he can, get away with it.
I have a name for this man.
Him in that truck, though. Jump in the back!
What an idiot. What a dickhead. And just him, like, swearing at the two guys that were in the high rail. Their whole spat back and forth when he was supposed to throw the switch. And
oh, yeah, he was like, I've been here for 6 minutes, no train.
That was one of the funniest parts of this movie. It was probably the funniest part of this movie. It was so well scripted and so well acted. Like,
I feel like he was made for that role.
Yeah, I can't see Chris Pine as anything other than Captain Kirk. Here he's just Captain Kirk, but on a train. Denzel Washington is an outstanding actor,
Oh my god.
and he was 100% his character this entire film. Like, I did not see him as, oh, it's the pilot from Flight, but now he's in a train. It's not.
No, this is
He
Frank.
nails it. But yeah, I guess I wanted to ask you, this is sort of a provocative question, I guess. Is there anything you feel like they didn't focus on enough over the course of this film? Is there anything you wanted more of, other than the denouement with seeing him reuniting with his family and stuff?
I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like this movie was really well paced for how long it is. I feel like they just, like I said in the beginning, they put so much into this movie at the beginning that you forget that it's an hour and 38 minutes long. Like, we got halfway, we got to the point where they detached from their train and they're chasing 777.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, how much more of the movie is left? And
Yeah.
I didn't check because I was like, I don't want to know, because I don't want to freak myself out if it's like we got a whole other hour left.
Yeah. And actually, I really like how you're never quite sure when this movie is going to end. Like, the train gets away from them. You know, the runaway starts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not sure how the... first of all, I like the FRA guy character. He's very competent, very cool. His beard reminded me of Loveless from Wild Wild West, though. But what the hell was I saying? I got distracted in the middle of my own sentence.
Movie
But
makes you
there
feel
there
like
are
it's
so
shorter.
many instances in this movie where they try something, or you feel like the train is going to stop, or be stopped, or at least there's a really good chance of it. And it's not like it doesn't feel like a typical 3-act story structure where you have like a midpoint climax where you have either a great success or a great failure. You have a series of, I guess, at least in the eyes of somebody, reasonably good plans to stop this train, and it feels like any of them could actually do it. It doesn't feel like this movie has to end with Chris Pine and Denzel Washington saving the day, even though, you know, even though it does, and from a story structure, like, yes, it does kind of, they're the main characters, but like, if it's just about them learning, like, having their character arcs and then getting out of harm's way and not saving this train, and the train is saved by the competence of Rosario Dawson's character, and like her having to negotiate with the
higher ups.
Yeah, with the higher ups about making it happen the way that she wants or whatever. Like, that still could have been a good movie. A less satisfying movie, but still a good movie. And when you're like 30, 40, 50 minutes into this, and they're putting those locomotives on the head of the train, and they have the guy in the helicopter or whatever, or they have the derail, it's like, oh my god, okay, thank god, like, they're gonna stop this train. They might actually stop this train. And then, of course, it doesn't work because it, plot.
I actually wanted to talk about something before we go into star ratings.
Go ahead.
I like how Galvin tried to hide the fact that they were going to just use the derailer.
Yeah. Try to hide it from Rosario Dawson's character, who's just suggested derailing it, like, in the middle of nowhere earlier.
Yeah, and then Frank was like, called her and was like, hey, they're going to derail the train. And she was like, what? They said that they're not going to do that because of the compound they have in there. And they were like, well, they're evacuating, what was it called?
East Palestine, Ohio.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. What are you doing?
That's the place where the train exploded like a month ago.
So? We're not talking about that. We're talking about this.
I'm saying that's my point. It's,
Arklow.
It's sort of like the place, it's relevant in the modern era.
Relevant you in the modern era.
Also, all the paint schemes they had for their fake railroad are awesome.
One of them did look like, what was it? Conrail. One of them did have the color scheme of Conrail, it looked like.
Yeah, I thought there was like a bona fide Conrail unit in the back of one of the scenes.
In the opening scenes, right? In the opening scene?
It looked like there was a Conrail unit, but I know they had like their blue scheme, so maybe it was just that. I don't know. I didn't get a good look at it. There wouldn't be anything like brightly colored Conrail in 2010 anyway, unless you happen to be in New Jersey.
The runaway train didn't look like a CSX, it looked like a BNSF. Looked like a bean sniff.
Yeah, well, it was. They made their own paint scheme.
Well, I know they made
yeah.
their own paint scheme, but I'm saying if it was supposed to look like a CSX, it didn't look like a CSX.
I think they were trying to get as far from reality as they could, but still within the bounds of the event, because they didn't want any railroad to be like, "You're clearly mocking us," you know, or "You are clearly like trying to impersonate us." Like it's not. If they'd made blue locomotives that said like DPX on the side of them, or DSX or whatever, it'd be like, I wonder who that's pretending to be. But this, it's clearly
SUX.
SUX. But this, it's clearly its own railroad. Yeah, I'm sure that should be on the side of the locomotives in the next Grand Theft Auto game. like the train being the brown streak in San Andreas.
What do you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it like a 3.5.
I'll give it a 4.
I figured I'd be lower than you on this. I mean, you really got into it. There were too many things that, even despite me wanting to like this film in the same way I like, I don't know, like Battleship or Pacific Rim, where it's like
Pacific Rim's a good movie.
Pacific Rim is a good movie. Where it's like, I came here for a specific thing. I came here for like an action movie. And it gave me that, and I don't have much to complain about. There is still too much railfan in me that's like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. That makes too much sense with the corporate BS. Yeah. The other piece of pat of this movie is the entire children's train. It's addressed. It's taken care of in like the first 10 minutes.
Oh my god, that scene freaked me out. I was like, does anybody die in this? And you're like, I don't think so.
The train comes around the corner and is faced with 2 carloads of children.
I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill a bunch of children.
Yeah, no, thankfully that did not happen.
Thank God.
But they pulled the same... actually, it was kind of a neat escalation where they barely dodged the train with the kids, and then...
Yeah, because they switched, right? They flipped the switch.
And then, like, a very similar thing happens to Denzel Washington and Chris Pine's train.
Oh,
except,
yeah,
except they don't dodge the whole thing.
Except, Denzel Washington's character was like, we have to get 10 cars up first.
Yeah.
And then the frickin' here comes 777 just charging through.
Just demolishes the last boxcar. Yeah. No, this is... I mean, it's a good movie. It doesn't deserve the hate that it gets from rail fans. And
I mean, how much money did this movie make in the box
people
office?
that are not rail fans, it made $167 million against a budget of about $100. So it was a success. It was a financial success. I don't think it's like a stellar movie by any means, but it doesn't deserve the reaming it gets from rail fans. No. Anyway, what is the next film that we're watching?
We're gonna watch The Help.
Oh, I'm sure this won't be depressing at all.
It's about segregation, about like how when African American women were still working as maids in white people's houses.
Yeah. It's
where that line "eat my shit" comes from. Eat
what?
My shit.
I'm not familiar with that line, but okay.
Well, you're gonna like.
I guess I'm gonna be familiar with.
You're
this
gonna
line.
like this movie. I have a feeling it's actually a book too. It's a book in it. I forget if it was a movie and then it was a book. I think it was a book first.
Well, we'll find out next week on The Real. Anyway, yeah. If you're watching this, you probably have something to say about Unstoppable. So feel free to leave a comment. Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Let's go watch a movie.